Hey, great day inspirers. Another day of learning awakes us all. Welcome to another powerful episode of Amputate to Elevate Success. This is the podcast where we uncover the truths leaders must face and the decisions they must make to raise new levels of influence and impact. I'm your host, John Register, Paralympic silver medalist, Army veteran, and founder of the Elevate Life Executive Series on Beehive. Now, this show was born from my own experience of quote unquote overcoming adversity, which I didn't, not by going back to who I was before my amputation, but by choosing to amputate what was holding me back and elevate what could move me forward. That same mindset applies to leaders facing high stakes transitions. And this podcast is here to give you the tools to navigate those moments with confidence and clarity, especially through better communication. Now, every episode features conversations with top CEOs, executives, and thought leaders who share not only their victories, but the sacrifice it took to achieve them. If you're a leader in transition, this podcast is your strategic edge. Be sure to like, share, and follow the show so more people can elevate through adversity. Now, let me tell you about today's guest. She is a powerhouse voice in leadership and inclusion and culture, shaping conversations. Denise Hamilton is the author of the transformational book, Indivisible: How to Forge Our Differences into a Stronger Future. She's not just talking about inclusion, she's redefining what unity looks like in a divided world. As the founder of WatchHerWork and a trusted advisor to global brands, Denise brings bold truths, practical insights, and unmatched authenticity to every room she enters, including this one. We're going to talk about what she had to amputate in order to elevate, what indivisibility really means in today's world, and how we as leaders can build bridges instead of burning out. All that and more right after this. Denise Hamilton is in the building, y'all. What is up?
Hey, friend. How are you?
It is so good to see you.
It is so
y'all don't
good
know,
to
for those,
be here. Thank you for having me.
oh my gosh, for y'all that just don't know, Denise is one of my ace boon coons. She is an amazing leader, amazing woman. We oftentimes, when I get down to her spot, her and her husband and I get a chance to just hang out, go get some Mexican food, just chill, and just relax and just talk shop and just friendship. And I love that. So it's, and then in the professional speakers world, it's hard to find those individuals that you can just let everything out with. And Denise is one of those individuals. So I just want to give you your flowers because you're so amazing. So absolutely. So let's just jump on in. You know, you've been very successful and you continue to evolve and transition and transform. What did you have to amputate in order to elevate for your success?
I think that there is a story or an idea that people have about what you are capable of. You know, if you came from a single parent household, you got all these stats. If you, are Black, you're the women. Like, I think there's all of these stories and limitations about what is possible and what isn't possible that you have to literally strangle in the crib. You have to have the courage to cut those stories off and put them out of your psyche and allow whatever your uniqueness, your giftedness allows you to do to happen. And I say it like it's easy. It's really, really, really hard, right? I think that people struggle with it every single day. Our stories tell us who we are, right? They tell us who's the good guy, who's going to live happily ever after. Like, our stories shape us. And so when you have the courage to cut off a story that no longer serves you, I think that's when you really get to be unstoppable.
Was there a story that you had to let go of, amputate?
Yeah, I think for me, nice. I had to release the idea of what it means to be like, what are the qualities that make you a good person, right? And definitely being socialized as a woman in US culture, it's about being polite and about being harmonizing and never ruffling feathers and never alienating and making sure everyone is happy. Well, everyone can't be happy because sometimes people aren't doing the right things. Sometimes they need to hear some feedback that they may not really enjoy, but it's going to bless them and make their lives better, right? So this idea of having the courage to name your gifts and then learn to move in them. And I think those are two really separate skills. If you stop the average person, can they give you a list of the things that are their gifts, the skills that they really have mastery of, that are really innate to them? Most people can't even list what their gifts are. And then there's this thing that we do in our society where we have some gifts that we really covet. Right. I was a singer. I used to sing backup for El DeBarge a million years ago. And so when you have this gift of being able to sing, it's a gift that everybody wants to have. Right. So it's so weird. Everybody has an idea of what you should do with it and whatever. And it's like, I want the gift of encouragement. I want the gift of foresight. I want the gift of courage in the face of adversity, right? Like there's all these different gifts that we have as human beings, and all of our gifts are different. One of the biggest lies that the world ever told us is that you're a one-man shop, a one-person shop. Nobody has all the gifts. Like we're literally designed to work in community, but I can't work in community with you if I don't even know what my gifts are, right? Or I'm not operating at the highest level of my giftedness. Like your giftedness relies on my giftedness for us to move to the next level. So if I'm playing small, if I'm doubting myself, if I'm shutting down opportunities, if I'm telling myself no, then I'm cheating the world. And that was a big shift when you're raised as a, young immigrant girl. I'm from Jamaica, was born in Jamaica. Like you're just supposed to just fit in, just have a low profile, just don't ruffle any feathers. And it's like, maybe my gift is ruffling feathers. Maybe my gift is bringing out ideas that are unique and alien and powerful, and sometimes maybe even scary. And if I shut that down in order to make you comfortable, I have cheated you out of what God placed in me. And that was a massive shift in my life, because it's like you're trying, if you spend your energy and your life and your time trying to make everyone happy, you don't even like everybody. So why are you trying to make everyone happy? I like that. That was a message and a story that just had to be jettisoned. You're not cake. Everybody likes cake. You're not cake. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but the people that need you will find you if you have the courage to fully be you. And so as I have moved through my career, one of the things that I've always tried to do is to say yes, and to lean in the spaces where I felt like I could contribute and that I could share my gifts, and also allow other people to share their gifts. Right. So the story that had to go is the story of small, the story of nice kind of had to go. My goal is to be effective. And that was a really big shift for me.
The story of being small, the story of nice, it's like you found your rhythm of the night.
Hold on.
That's El DeBarge, y'all.
No, don't get a royalty check. Okay, go ahead.
Don't worry, singing like that, ain't no royalties coming this way. Saying yes. You're right that people struggle to find not only their gift, but what that gift's supposed to do, how they're supposed to show up. So we're always looking for somebody else's gift. Oh, maybe that's my gift. I should bring it over here. But we're all a DNA fingerprint, a DNA, we're a fingerprint. We're all designed unique and different for a reason, for a purpose that we have to yet discover. And there was a time, you write about your daughter and the literal fight to keep her alive, and Javen. And what did that moment of maternal warriorship teach you about persistence, about clarity, and the daily practices that you use to serve others?
Yeah, it's the defining experience of my life, I'd have to say. I mean, for your listeners who don't know the story, my daughter had a catastrophic illness from age 11 to age 16. She's fine now. You would never have any idea that it was that she was ever even sick, but she was wheelchair bound. She was had been sentenced to a life of pain and misery. She actually, her illness is listed as one of the most painful diseases on record. And so you can imagine as a child having a really painful disease, like what the stress and the trauma of that was, and obviously was on me. And just accessing resources for her, realizing, I think the biggest lesson that I learned in that experience is that people are really very quick to quit. They're really quick to give up. I remember I had to have kind of an intervention with my family and friends because they would send, she was wheelchair bound, so she was homeschooled, the whole nine, and everyone would send cupcakes and cookies and candy and whatever. And I was like, okay, like, we don't want her to learn to soothe with food. Right. And I remember my different people would argue with me of like, Denise, her life is so hard. Let her eat the cake, and and this is what I mean when I had to like amputate nice. Right. Like, yeah, that's true. It's more comfortable immediately to like soothe yourself with this sweet treat and this delicious whatever. But there's also a hopelessness in that. Like, this will never get better. This will never, give it like she had to take a really strong cocktail of medication. But I made her go to school the whole time. And, my family would be like, well, just let her relax. Like, she's in so much pain. It's like, but even think of the hopelessness in that. You think she's not going to get on the other side of this. And I know she will, right? And she won't. I don't want her to get on the other side and not be able to read and write and do all the things and compete with her peers. So I think this idea of, having consistency and stick-to-itiveness in the face of challenges, that experience showed me how many people are kind of willing to just lay down and just give up and just accept whatever hand they're dealt. And I think if there's one characteristic that has really served me in my business and in my career is just, plowing through, is just pushing through. We ultimately found a doctor that had an experimental treatment, and we went to that doctor, and she literally never had her condition flare up ever again. And now she got out of the wheelchair at 16, and now she's 31. Right. So no one would ever have any idea that she went through that. But what I really learned is the importance of community, the importance of surrounding yourself with people who believe in what you believe to be possible. Right. Like, it's so hard to have a dream, to push a boulder up the mountain. You do not need people who stand on either side of the boulder telling you you're never going to make it. Well, you need cheerleaders and fellow pushers, and so this idea of like, who is in your community, who is in your circle. And to this day, my personal deep philanthropy is emergency philanthropy. That is a term that I kind of coined. I remember a friend of mine, when my daughter was sick, we had to have treatment in Corpus Christi. And my friend drove all the way to Corpus to just take me for lunch and to get a manicure because it was so stressful and she just wanted me to relax. And then she turned around and she drove back home, and will never forget that. Right.
Wow.
People that show up in the moment are just the most valuable, important people in my life, And so I've from that experience, I've really learned to be that person. And just that gift of encouragement cannot be understated. It's something that you're so powerful, good at. You're so good at. You're so powerful at it. Like it's something that's so important to you as a person, John, lifting people up, right? Because you don't know where anyone is in their journey when you come along and say, "Wow, you're doing such a great job." Like you might be the thing that gets them to the next, lily pad. So encouragement, and just the courage to believe, just faith. Like the only people that can change the world are the ones who think they can.
Yeah.
So if you don't believe in you, how are you going to get anybody else to believe in you?
When you're saying that, and I keep, I don't have my notepad, y'all. So when I'm looking down, I'm writing on my phone because I always say when Denise talks, I usually have a recorder on because some nugget's going to drop out of her mouth and I don't want to miss it. I just don't want to miss it because you're hearing her right now, Denise Hamilton, author of Indivisible. And we're talking right now about just her kind of some of her philosophies, the ways that she's thinking about what she's had to let go of, release, and now what she is elevating. Do you think, Denise, when you see people giving up, and we talk about, the world we're in right now today, when others are saying and taking things to make you want to give up, how are you seeing, are people giving up? Or are they pressing through? Are they scared? Are they frustrated? Are they uncertain? Are they weary? Or are they pressing? Are they? I say all the above.
I think it's all of the above.
Yeah.
And I get asked this question a lot of like, how are you coping with this political environment? And the legal environment has become so antagonistic towards the work that you're doing. And so how are you coping with that? And the truth of it is that I am a student of history, right? Like this is not new. This is not special. My personal muse is Harriet Tubman. And I think of this young woman, petite, couldn't read, couldn't write, didn't have a map, didn't have a horse, didn't know anybody in the North, literally had a seizure disorder, had been brutalized as a child by the overseer and literally had a seizure disorder from it. Like there are all these reasons that she couldn't do it. And she ran by herself to freedom. What? And then got there and turned around and came back. John, I don't know if I would have came back, John. I don't know. I'm not sure. I want to believe I would have came back. But I just look at this tiny little woman that over the years, just saved, they think that over the course of her life, she saved 70 people via the Underground Railroad. And it was like one trip would be 4 people and another trip would be 6 people or 3 people, 5 people. It wasn't 20 million people at a time, right? And I think this idea that, when I look at her life, is there anyone listening to this conversation right now that has less than Harriet Tubman had in the 1800s? Do you have less information, less access, less resources, less education? You don't have less of anything but courage, commitment, and consistency.
Oof. Preach.
That's what's missing. That's what's missing. If she could go back and forth all that time to save people's lives, right? And understand the significance and the importance of saving 3 people, 5 people. Some might say, oh, that's no big deal. Because the big lie that our season of history, our chapter of the story, the lie that we've been told is that if you're not doing mega millions, you're doing nothing. What do you mean? You're 27 years old and you don't have a unicorn billion-dollar startup yet? What's wrong with you? What are you even doing with your life, you loser? Right? We get these constant messages that you're supposed to be a phenom. How about we stop chasing being a phenom and start chasing consistency? Just do the thing every day, and I promise you, you will be impactful on the world. That is the lesson that I take from Harriet Tubman. And even the application, immediate application for today is, the Underground Railroad was so effective that the legislature, the US government, changed the laws. They passed the law that now you, instead of just being required to get across the Mason-Dixon line, to get from the south to the north, now you had to get all the way to Canada. Canada. Can you imagine? That sounds literally unbelievable. It sounds impossible. And a lot of people would have said, oh, well, the law changed. Oh, we can't do it anymore. But you know what they did? They went to Canada. The conditions may change. The conditions may change, but the work continues.
Yeah.
The conditions may change, but the work continues. So what I try to encourage people to hold on to is that courage, commitment, and consistency. If you do those, if you hold on to those three, there literally isn't anything that you can't do. And that's how you achieve your purpose on earth, right? And so it's not easy, but I guarantee you it's not as hard as their lives were in the 1800s. I think we could figure it out. I believe in us. I believe that we have the skills and the capability to do more than they did back then.
Well, I needed some emergency philanthropy the other day, and so thank you for helping me out, because I was sitting on the sidelines. I was like, I don't want to get out of bed today. And I wasn't doing my swim or my affirmations. And you were like, just go to the pool, dip your toe and your foot in that water and swim.
That's right.
And so it's just that extra push. So today,
never let one bad day become two.
That's right.
You can get one. Don't let one bad day become two. Stop it. Stop the cycle.
Yeah, stop it right there. And so how can we, just like the woman came down to support you, take you out for lunch or get your pedicure or something and drive, go down to Corpus and drive back? How now do we do that for one another who are in these tough times, and to build that community?
Yes. I think that, first of all, we have to really know each other, right? We don't know each other. We see each other, we watch each other, on Instagram, on social media. We're watching, this person here, and look at this great, beautiful picture of them there and whatever. But do we actually know each other? Do you know what's going on? Do you know the organizations that you love? Have they lost funding? Are you calling them to see, hey, how can I help? Do you know if your friends are still employed? There's so many layoffs happening right now. Are you reaching out to people? Do they need help finding a new job? Do they need help with resources? I've got a friend who does something so amazing every year. It blows me away. She calls the local colleges, and I live in Houston, and she just says, hey, is anybody short on their bill? Maybe they are $1,500 short and they can't walk in graduation unless they get that $1,500, and she'll just pay the bill. And I remember the first time I heard that, my heart exploded, because can you think of the times in your life where you just needed that little bridge, that little bit of support to get over the other side, right? And so I think this idea of reaching out, instead of saying, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. How's everything going? Oh, it's going great. Well, what if we started answering those questions honestly? What if we started saying, actually, I'm kind of discouraged. My business has been impacted by all of the executive orders. I don't know, my spirit's a little bit low right now. It seems like everyone around me is on edge and everybody's nerves are frayed, and I'm kind of down, right? So I think you want friends, you need to be a friend. And part of that is being transparent, and also seeking transparency from the other person and allowing them to not be perfect, to not be glossy Instagram, ready, People are struggling right now, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I do think it's going to get better because I'm an optimist, but I do think it's going to be worse before it gets better. And I want to be the kind of person that stands in the gap. You know, we do an event in town called Good Givers, and have relationships with some low income apartment complexes in town. And, you know, we told them, hey, if you have a family that has a need, call us, right? And sometimes, John, it'll be a family that has 4 kids and they just need some bunk beds. And the bunk beds are $249. You know what I mean? And $249 feels like $1 million if you don't have it. But some of us spend $249 going out to lunch with a couple friends, going out to brunch. That's a weekend of running around and step in Sephora or go to Target. Well, not Target. Go to Sephora and you know, walk out with $300 worth of this and that, tubes and bottles. Like, and this is what this one thing will help this woman get over a hump. That's what I think we need to seek out. Opportunities to be authentically helpful. And that's getting harder and harder because we're very segregated by class.
Yeah.
Right? Like some of us don't even know anybody that would be in need. And living in Houston, if you remember, we had Hurricane Harvey a couple years ago. And that point was made so clear. Some people were rich. Their houses were destroyed. They lost everything. But you know where they slept that night? They slept at their other rich friend's house. They had food to eat. They could sleep so they could tackle all the insurance company and all the whatever. There was another group, their whole circle was poor. All of them were in the shelter together, exhausted, feeling unsafe, not having access to anything, right? So this idea of being the illusion of segregation, of separation by class, like that also has to come down. And we have to be authentically helpful in the places that authentically need help. And the first thing I would do if for anyone listening is a lot of organizations are struggling financially now because of funding cuts with the federal government. And I invite you to reach out and see how you can help. Be a source of help. Don't just watch the news or doom scroll social media. That your finger will get a workout, but that's about the only thing that's getting a workout. How can you be authentically helpful and contributing to another person? That's how you build community.
You sparked something when you said separation by class. And I go back even our history before we started America, before America started, there was indentured servanthood. And that was done by class. It was individuals who were aristocrats and those that were indentured servants that worked for 7 years, white, black, it was all, there was no color at that point because that color didn't really start to 1620, and to divide so that you could separate by color and class at the same time, to move that forward. When we look at this and kind of, we're almost back to that, not almost, we are back to that again, because there was a rebellion that happened and the aristocrats who were on top almost got overthrown. So that's why they put all this stuff together to separate folks out. When we see this, and you're writing about in your book, realizing the old playbook doesn't work any longer. What's one story or strategy that you can relate to right now that shows how elevating through discomfort actually sparks business innovation?
Well, one of my favorite stories in the book is in the chapter I call "Let the Story Change." I think very often one problem we have is not having the true story, right? Not having the actual facts of what happened. But another problem that we have is once we get the facts, do we have the courage to let the story change? So I heard this amazing presentation by astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he was talking about the ways that language confounds science sometimes, how we name things. We're self-centered, right? As human beings, and we even name things based on our, kind of relationship with that thing. And the example he gave was the tide. We use language that says the tide goes in and out. And that's not actually what happens. It's the earth that rotates. And there's literally 2 bulges of water on the earth. And literally as the earth rotates, the earth is rotating in and out, right? So what difference does it make what you call it, right? Well, if you're doing a scientific experiment, it really matters, because you literally can be building a whole concept on faulty information, right? And I was obsessed with that. Like for the weeks after that, I could not shake that, because I think so many things are like that. And I thought about the concept of sunset, which has the same deal. The sun doesn't actually set. It's the earth that sets. Now, as I say that, it makes perfect sense. Like there isn't a person that could hear this and not say, you're right. It's not the sun that sets. It's the earth that sets. You probably would have 100% agreement if you got 1,000 people in a room. Okay. Even though we all agree, how difficult do you think it would be to have an international campaign to change the term from sunset to earthset? Man, it would be really tough. It would be really tough. Why? Because, John, it doesn't matter if it's true.
Right.
It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter if it's right. People love their stories, even if their stories are broken, even if their language is broken, they love their stories. And so even if you have something that you could get 100% agreement on, it's still hard to make a change. It's still hard, right? And I think this idea of budgeting for the Herculean difficulty of change is what we need to be really aware of and really clear on. We are doing magical Herculean work, right? When we try to tell people to take their broken stories and put them down, but you can't get the bigger, better, brighter, more amazing reality until you put them down. You can't get to the moon and hold on to this idea of flat earth. You have to put one of them down to move forward. And so there are all these concepts and these practices and these beliefs that we have got to let go. We've got to let them go, right? If we have any hope of moving forward. So as we look at this season that we're in, we're seeing people desperate to go back, desperate for, an old story. Please, I don't even like the new stuff. Give me the old story. And it's like the movie, The Matrix, right? That the whole idea is that the humans are plugged into a system that the machines feed off of, right? And there's the point of the story that one of the characters unplugs from the Matrix, but when he was in the Matrix, he was eating steak and the sun was shining, and now he's unplugged and he's in raggedy clothes and the food is terrible. It's real, but it's harder. And he wants to plug back into the Matrix. We have a large percentage of people who prefer a beautiful lie to a difficult truth. Yeah. And so that is the challenge that we're struggling with right now and part of it is our problem, right? In that if you're trying to get somebody to change their direction or to move away from practices that you think of as bad or unseemly, unwholesome, whatever word you want to use, nobody's going to trade their brand of misery for your brand of misery. You have to give them a brighter vision. You have to give them a broader possibility of what's possible and what can happen, right? Like, so that's why I call the book Indivisible. This idea comes from the pledge, and it's like, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Man, that's something. I want some of that. Where do we get that? How do we get that? Right? Like, so to me, it's not enough to just say, hey, your story is broken. I've got to give you a better story to work towards. And, the best metaphor I can find for being indivisible is the human body. The lungs and the heart don't argue which one of us is important. Like that's just not a thing. If you laid your intestines out end to end, I don't want you to do this, but if you do it, it's about 15 feet long. Does that mean it's more important than the tiny little pituitary gland? No. Right? Your legs are the strongest muscle group in your body. They can take you anywhere you want to go, but you're going nowhere if the small structures in your ear, the little tiny structures in your ear, don't manage your balance.
Right.
It's all important. The point is that everybody can bring their gift to the space for the benefit of the whole. That's the goal. So for me, I try to speak in a very aspirational, optimistic tones. I have been told I walk through the world with an inappropriate, irrational level of optimism, and I'll take it. And I'll take it because we have way too many people that are experts in naming problems, and far too few people. We're overrun with supervisors. And we need some actual workers, some actual doers. So I think that as I think about the season we're in, I think about the work that has to happen. I think about the potential for discouragement. I also think about the potential for achievement and reimagination and creativity. This is the time to create, right? You don't create, you're not. It's this necessity that is the mother of invention, right? So now you got some necessity. so this is the season, in my opinion, to really get creative, to say, if I had a magic wand, how would I change that system? How would I work in that area? And it's not everybody working on the same thing. It's you figuring out with your gifts the best place for you to be impactful. Right. And so that to me is the way forward. And that's the way we get out of this.
I told you, everybody, Denise Hamilton just dropping nuggets, gave you action steps right there. Don't look for someone else to do it. You can do it. Wasn't that a beautiful analogy around the body, and that the body doesn't argue within inside of itself? It actually fights to protect itself.
That's right. Amazing
analogy of how we all should be showing up, and gave us some great nuggets around how we can serve, even serving while we are bleeding. Yeah. It's another powerful examples of that. Denise, how do people get a hold of you? How do they get your brilliance into their rooms?
My favorite question. You can find me at denisehamilton.co, denisehamilton.co, and on all the socials, I'm at official D Ham, like Denise Hamilton, at official D Ham, and drop me a note. Like, I love to be in conversation. Threads is probably my major platform right now, but I love to hear what you're working on, what you got going on. I'm working on a new book right now called In Person. So I'd love to hear ideas that people have about how we can be more connected to each other as technology rises. Our humanity is going to have to rise to meet it. And so I'm really eager to hear from you. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. The door's open.
And please read her book, Indivisible, because I'm in it. So I just want to say that. I have to.
Can I have your autograph?
Thank you so much for being on, Denise. We're going to close the show out, but I want to chat with you just right afterwards. So just stay on. All right. Thanks, everybody, for being on. Wow, what a rich and transformative conversation with my good friend, Denise Hamilton. From red lighting inclusion through the lens of indivisibility to the tough decisions she had to make to stay aligned with her mission, Denise reminded us that real leadership isn't about perfection. It's about courageous clarity. It's about choosing impact over comfort and unity over division. Denise, thank you for showing us what it looks like to amputate fear, doubt, and outdated norms and elevate a new model of leadership that brings people together. Oh my gosh, don't we need that today? To our listeners, if today's episode moved you, challenged you, or inspired you, would you do me a favor? Like it, share it with your community, follow it. Follow the show so that you don't miss what's coming next. And don't forget, if you're navigating your own high-stakes transition, I want to invite you to sign up for the Elevate Life Executive Strategy Session on Beehive. It's where this conversation continues and where your next step begins. I'm John Register, and I'll see you next time on Amputate to Elevate, the Success Podcast. Go forth, inspire your world. Bye for now.